folks, this is Eric Endlick, and I am really excited to be joining you today to discuss communicating with colleges. This is one of the Streamable U presentations, and we've got a great selection of programs for you this year. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you, and you're going to see some slides to talk about all the different ways that we can make the communications with college count. Here we go. So back up. So today we're talking about communicating with colleges and something called demonstrated interest, which I'll get to in a moment. Again, I'm Eric Endlick. I am with Top College Consultants, and I'm an educational consultant. My background is being a psychologist, writer. I've also taught in college courses. So let's talk about demonstrated interest. Now, this is, I call it sort of a hidden college admissions factor because there are other factors that are more widely known, like grade point average and test scores and letters of recommendation. And those are ones that, those are documents that get sent to colleges. This one is a little bit less tangible. So, but in some cases, it can be quite important, surprisingly important. But it's only tracked by about half of colleges, plus or minus. So it's helpful to know, does my college, the college that I'm interested in, care about this? Because if they do care, and this is a college that's important to you, then it's worth putting the time in. If it's not something that they're tracking, then don't worry about it. But chances are, if you're applying to a number of colleges, at least some of them do track this. And this is demonstrated interest means you're showing to the college that you're really interested in going there. And that may seem like something that should be obvious. Well, why would I be talking to or applying to this college if I weren't interested? But I'm sure you know that there's different degrees of interest, and some of the colleges on your list may be lower down on your list. And colleges really want to get a sense of how much do you really want to come to this college, and why do they care about this? For something called yield. And that is when they put out offers, when they accept a given number of students for their freshman class, they want to get as high a percentage as possible of those students accepting those offers. So if they make you an offer and you don't accept it because that school was way down on your list, that's not great for them. It doesn't look good. It means that offer might be tied up for a few weeks while other students are going elsewhere. So they really want to make offers to students who are going to say yes. Okay, so I want to show you an example of how a college rates demonstrated interest. And again, this is something called the common data set. If you Google the name of a college and common data set, many colleges will have this, not all colleges. And then if you scroll down to around page 8 or so, you'll see a table like this for the colleges that do have a common data set. You see this table, and some colleges, for level of applicants' interest, which is demonstrated interest, have it in the not considered column. And you can see for this particular college, what happens to be Olin College, a great small engineering college in Needham, Mass, in my neck of the woods. Religion is not considered for Olin. State residency is considered. Certain things like standardized test scores for Olin are important, but in the very important category, the most important category, you'll see GPA, essay recommendations, etc., and all the way down here in the most important, very important category, level of interest. That's what I was calling demonstrated interests. So in this particular case, and I'm going to switch back to the PowerPoint. In this particular case of Olin, demonstrated interest is very important. So there are cases where it matters as much as any other factor. And so it pays to find out, does the college I'm applying to care about demonstrated interest and how important it is? Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the tips. If you want to demonstrate interest, if you really do care about a college, here are some ways to do it. And I'm not suggesting that you do it unless you really genuinely want to go to that college. Number one, if they send you emails, open them. Many colleges are actually tracking whether you open the emails. If you haven't gotten an email from the college that you're interested in, by all means, you can email them. Go onto their website, go to the admissions section. If there's a place that says find your counselor, then email the specific counselor who's responsible for your geographic area. If you can't figure that out, or if it's not listed and it's just one general admissions box, like admissions at name of college, then just email them and say, hey, I'm in high school in such and such a location, and I'm interested in applying to your college, and who should I be in touch with? And maybe you have a question that you want answered. Maybe if you're an athlete, you want the name of a coach, or maybe you want to find something out that you can't find on the website. Ask them to send you information. If you want them to send you brochures in the mail, maybe they'll send you some swag. And if they have sent you an email, by all means, especially if it's a personal email from a counselor, from an admissions rep, then by all means respond. Number two, tour the campus. Now, of course, this is not always practical, and not all families have the money to tour or the time to tour all the colleges that the student might be interested in. But if this is practical, by all means, go and tour the campus in person. When you do that, register for the visit. In other words, don't just drive out there and show up randomly. Go onto the website, find the place where it says visit, usually in the admissions section. Typically we'll say visit, and there'll be a place to register for a visit. So you sign up online in advance, or you reach out to them, call them, email them, and get signed up for a visit. So they're expecting you at a certain time. When you arrive, check in. Go up to the desk, introduce yourself, and say, I'm registered for the 2 o'clock tour. That way, they will now have it in their record that you registered and actually showed up. And then while you're there, of course, interact with staff and students to learn more about the college, to get your questions answered, and to show them that you are really interested in attending. Number three, now I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I'm not trying to get you to spend more time on social media than you already are. But if you are on social media, then follow the college, like the college or their posts. If you've visited the college, you can share that with other folks. And as long as we're on the topic of social media, make sure that there's nothing on your social media accounts that you wouldn't want a college to see if they were Googling you and potentially seeing stuff that's out there. So check out what you've posted in terms of pictures and so on, and if necessary, clean it up. Moving on to number 4, interviewing. So again, not all colleges offer this, and even those that do, it may be optional. So for some colleges, particularly state public universities, don't have interviews at all. So you can't assume that that's an option. But if you look through their admissions website and you look through the checklist, you may find somewhere an interview. Or as you saw in the last common data set that I looked at briefly, interview is one of the categories. So you'll be able to tell if you're looking at the common data set, is interview something that is counted significantly towards admission as an admissions criterion. And the way that interviews get scheduled can vary quite a bit from one college to another. So sometimes you really have to do your own research. If you think, I'm just going to apply and sit back and they'll reach out to me if they want to interview me, well, for some colleges, it does work that way, but not always. For other colleges, you need to actually schedule an interview prior to the application deadline. And if you don't do it early enough, the slots for interviews may fill up. I have seen situations where a student said, oh, okay, I've sent in my application. Now I'm going to go on to the website and look at the interview schedule. And, oh, it says interview slots are all filled up. So Don't wait. Go to the website early or reach out to the college early and say, if they have interviews, of course, how does it work if you can't figure it out from the website? Sometimes it's self-scheduling. If so, go ahead and schedule one at your convenience. And if you're not sure how it works, reach out to them and say, hey, I wasn't sure if you folks do interviews, or if so, I'm not sure how it works. Can you let me know how I go about scheduling? Again, there are some colleges where that process happens fairly automatically. Once you submit your application, they reach out to you. But there are other ones where you have to be proactive. And think about whether you interview well. Are you someone who is comfortable in talking to someone you don't know very well? Are you outgoing, talkative? If you're not sure how you come across in an interview, ask people who know you, do you think I would be good in an interview? And if you really think this is not a strength for you, then, and it's optional, you might skip it. But chances are it could help you. And most of the time they'll say it's not going to hurt you. This is a chance for them to get to know you really as an individual, not just as numbers on a page. And as far as sort of interview tips and what that involves, that's a whole other topic. So we can't get into that level of detail. Number 5, you have probably spent 4 years in high school, or will have spent 4 years by the time it's over, working hard to do well in your classes. So it's worth putting some time into doing a good job on the essays. The essays are really a chance for you, especially if there's no interview, this is your chance to let the admissions committee know you as an individual. What are you all about? And one of the essays that's especially important when the college has its own separate essays, separate from the Common App or Coalition App, like an essay that will say, why are you applying to Brown or UMass or this particular university? What made you interested in us? That's one of the most important ones. And in order to answer that well, you really want to take some time and do some research. If you've gone on a tour and taken pictures and taken notes, great, you'll have some information there. If not, you can go to the website and drill down and find out about the subjects that you're hoping to study, what courses they offer, what kind of work they're doing in that area, what clubs you might want to join, all sorts of things, so that when you answer this question, you can go into some detail, not just, my friends told me it's a good school, or I heard it's a good school, or I went there and I thought the campus was attractive. You don't want to say something superficial. You want to go into some depth, and you want to connect what the college has to offer and what you have to offer, and why those things are a good mesh, why you're a good fit. And of course, you want to express your enthusiasm. Now, that may seem, again, self-evident. If I'm writing an essay, if I'm taking the time to apply, then you must know, college A, that I'm interested in you. But it's worth going the extra mile to say, I've been there, I've done my research, I've talked to professors, and I really understand. I can tell this school is a good fit, and I'm really excited about going there next year. So don't hold back if you really are enthusiastic. I'm not saying that you should fake it or pretend that you're interested in when you're not, but if you really care, then let them know. Number 6, apply early. This is a very controversial one for some people, and this isn't going to be appropriate for everyone, but when it is, it can make a difference, because in many cases, and by now this is pretty well known, and you can often look up statistics, the admissions rate is often higher for early applications. Now, it's complicated. I don't want to get into all the ins and outs of why that is, but for the right student in the right situation, this can be an option that will really boost your chances of getting in. Of course, that's if you're ready to apply early. Now, there may be situations where it doesn't make sense to apply early. For example, if if the early deadline is November 1st for, say, early action, and you've taken a standardized test, or you're going to take a standardized test, and the results aren't going to be back until December, you've retaken the SAT or the ACT, and you're pretty sure that your scores are going to be higher, then maybe you want to hold off. Or maybe you want to wait until the next term's grades are in. So or you're working on a project that you want to be able to talk about. So there may be situations where it's actually advantageous to wait. I'm not saying this works for everyone, but if you can apply early, if there's no reason to wait, you may be able to boost your chances. Now, you should also know the different kinds of early application. These are just two of the main categories, early action and early decision. There are subcategories like restricted early action, but I'm not going to go into the great level of details because there's other talks on that subject. Early action is non-binding. In other words, if you get in early action, you don't have to go to that college. Early decision is binding. That means you've essentially signed a contract saying, if you, the university, accept me, I promise to enroll in your university. And so obviously early decision is only for students who are really sure that that is absolutely their number one school. And in addition, it helps if you're not dependent on financial aid for early decision, because you won't have a bunch of offers to compare. But if you aren't going to apply early, if you've decided, forget it, I don't like any of this, I'm just going to apply the regular decision, no problem. I still recommend that you get your application in well ahead of the deadline. You know, several days, a couple of weeks ahead of the deadline. As soon as you can get it ready, get it in, even if you're applying for regular decision, because there's going to be counselors sitting, waiting around for that flood of applications on the deadline day. If you get yours in early, they're going to have more time to look at your application than if you are in that huge flood that comes on the deadline date. Number 7, go to college fairs when applicable, or if the college is coming to your high school, then meet with the rep at your high school, or go to the talk at your high school. So in order to know about these things, you need to be doing a little, you got to be on top of things. So your school may be putting out a regular email or schedule on which college reps, which admissions reps are coming to your school. Just keep an eye on that and go to any of the visits that may be of interest to you. You may be surprised. You might go to a college that you've never heard of just because they're there at your school, and all you have to do is walk over to the cafeteria or the guidance office, and you may find there's some colleges that are of really interesting that you weren't aware of before. So those are great opportunities when the college is coming to your school. And there are college fairs around the country on a regular basis. Your guidance counselor, your college counselor probably knows about them. You might see them listed in the local paper. There's lots of ways to find out about them. Or you can go to the college of your choice, go to their website. Let's say that college is on the other side of the country and you're not planning to tour that college, but if you go to their website or if you reach out to them, to their admissions rep, you can ask them, hey, are you going to be coming to my town to any college fairs in my area? Almost certainly they will be in your area or closer to you than the other side of the country at some point. Go to the fair, walk up to the rep, ask them some questions, and get their business card so you can follow up and send them an email, and that's going to be demonstrating interest. And say, hey, I met you at the fair. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak to me. I'm looking forward, I'm excited about applying. That's fine. That's all you have to say. If you want to add some more information or ask them a question, and go for it. And hey, if you have a business card, leave it with them. They'd be very impressed. You might think, hey, I'm in high school. I don't have a business card, but lots of high school students have businesses, walking dogs, mowing lawns, raking lawns, and whatnot. And no reason, it's very easy and cheap to create your own business cards, and people will be impressed. Number 8, reach out to admissions. Now, I did sort of mention this, but this is something it's important enough to, I think, be on a separate tip. So if you've gone on a tour, if you've gone to a fair, follow up. When you go on that tour, if you're at the college and you've done the tour, you've done the visit, there are going to be opportunities to get people's business cards, write down their names, reach out to those people individually and say, hey, I really enjoyed the tour, I really enjoyed the talk at your college, and I'm going to be applying, and so keep an eye out for my application. Or just a reminder, I'm from this town and I'm interested in studying such and such. If you have questions for them, by all means ask them. Even if not, it just shows that you're on their radar screen. And the colleges that track this are sort of keeping tabs, not just on whether you've visited, but the level of interest you've shown. And I mentioned identifying the rep that covers your area. There's specific reps for international students, for transfer students, for homeschooled students sometimes. There's undoubtedly a rep assigned to your area. Number 9, thank you notes. So any contact you've had, anything they've done for you, follow up with and thank them and try to get their name. So that would apply to contacts that we talked about, or any kind of contact. If you've called up the admissions office, try to get the name of the person you spoke to and follow up with people. It's professional. It's a good habit to get into. It's important in the job world too. Finally, if you do get waitlisted after you've applied, all is not lost, and it's still worth showing your interest. So sometimes when you apply, there are different possible outcomes. You can get accepted. Obviously, that's the best news. You can get rejected. That's the worst news. You can, if you've applied early, you can get deferred to the regular decision pool. That's a whole other story, which I'll leave for a different talk. Or you can get waitlisted, and that is where they say, you know what, we weren't able to offer you a slot, but you are on our wait list. They probably won't tell you where you are on the wait list. Maybe you'll be able to find out, but this is a kind of a limbo period of time where they're waiting for other students to let them know if they are accepting and if they're going to start pulling students off their wait list. For the most selective schools, unfortunately, your chances are probably not great of getting off the wait list. But for many schools, it can absolutely happen. And they may say in their letter that where they've told you that you're waitlisted, hey, let us know if you want to stay on the wait list. Let us know if there's anything else to report. And so this is a key time to, by all means, respond to them and say, absolutely, I still want to go to the college. I'm really hoping to that you will have room on your to take me off the wait list. So by all means, let them know that you still want to go. And otherwise, if they don't hear back from you, they're going to prioritize the people who have responded. And secondly, if there's anything new to tell them, or if there's anything you didn't get to them before, any information, try to get that off to them. So maybe you've won a scholarship or an award since you applied, then that's a great excuse to reach out to them, reach out to the rep and say, hey, I'm on the wait list. I just thought you should know about this new accomplishment that I have, this new development, whether it's an award or other accomplishment, a score that you didn't have before on a test. And that's helpful information that may give your application a little boost, but it also shows them that you are still very much interested. And as I said in the beginning, not all colleges are tracking this, so you don't want to knock yourself out for a college that that isn't tracking it, but for those that are, it could be that deciding factor. So what are the big takeaways? Number one, know if the college that you're applying to even tracks this. And that is something that you may be able to find on the common data set for that college, or you may be able to find out through other means. Sometimes you can just ask them if this is something they track, and they will usually tell you. Also, as I've said, be honest. So if you aren't really that interested, then why would you put all this extra time trying to get into a college that you're not interested? And it's not fair to them either. So I think it's important to have honesty on all sides. But if you are really excited about going there, then let them know. They can't read your mind. And go that extra mile if it's important. These are wise choices that could make the difference. If you want to learn more about my work with students and families, here's how you can get in touch with me. Make sure to log on to streamableu.com because there are a lot of great programs covering many aspects of the college admissions process and test prep for the ACT and SAT. So I think you're going to find a lot of them helpful, and I hope to see you again. Good luck.